Alrighty. Welcome to the It's a Tree map border teleport mod description. The main focus of this mod is to enable server owners to create an effect or thematic feedback within their server or their map such that they don't have to build rocks or a barrier for the edge of the map. And a good example of that, I'll just quickly come around, is that most maps have either something like this along the edge, or sometimes they hide this by pushing it into the water. But this is generally due to frame properties of building a terrain. We don't need to go into that at the moment, but um, generally, when you're trying to hide this effect, you don't want players to be able to walk on that or build on that. And so I've created a simple mod to help hide the edge of the map so the players can, um, experience an effect that is more akin to an actual game that they're used to. And so what you're experiencing here is me trying to go to the edge and being turned around automatically. And so uh, what was happening there is I wasn't able to use any inputs while I was being turned around. And so I'll kind of break down what's happening here as I in the kind of slow mo. Before I get to the edge of the map, there's a critical area which can be set in the mods. We'll talk about that later. Maximum distance away from the edge of the map, where fog begins to display. This gives visual feedback to the player that they're kind of entering an area that maybe um, shouldn't. I mean, it could be interesting because particles, but eventually you get to a point where there's a message that shows up on the top of the map, top of your UI. It shows that you're getting close to a boundary. This is based on number of steps, and as you progress towards here, at this point I'm no longer touching my keyboard. The game is automatically pushing me forward. If I was running, I'd continue running, and then eventually it would stop me out as I'm at the edge of the map. I'm going to try and gamify it by, it's turning me around. I can still move around as I get close to the map, but right here at this point, I'm trying to push my camera right, and it's not going, and it's aggressively turning me around. Again, at this point, controls are locked out. I couldn't even back in to the zone if I wanted to. Let's try that once it dumps me off here at the edge. If I just go into back, you can kind of see that it won't let you get close or even sidestepping into it. Really, the controls are meant to push the player away from the edge so that they don't really even get close to the edge. Um, and this is kind of a test on a mountain. Let me go ahead and an area that's a little more flat. The nature of the particles is that as an admin, you don't have to worry about teleporting around and getting stuck. Um, Things just happen. In this case, you can see, again, the flat edge of the map, I'm getting pushed away. Even though I'm trying to go into the edge, the more I fight it, the more it pushes me back to the center of the map, really. And I, as a player, know that I shouldn't be going near that anymore. Recognize this is the edge of the map, and I probably should go this way, where it dumped me out. Because where it puts the player, it orients them towards the center. So if I kept running, I would eventually hit the center of the map, which ideally would lead you to settlements or loot spawns and stuff like that. So let's say you want to override this mod. I've added in plenty of hooks to let you change things. I mean, in most cases, all you really need to do is change the game constants for the warning distance. This is the threshold at which when the player crosses the first warning is displayed. This controls the fog. This determines basically what kicks off all of the behavior. Then there's critical distance, which represents the edge of the map, or your perceived edge of the map. And so technically, if that was 0, that would literally be on the edge of the map. But in my case, you want some type of barrier in between. And then the mod step count is how many steps do we wait before we either send a new message or wait to do another calculation. This just keeps us from continually doing the same calculation. We really don't need it to be that tight. Um, the mod itself is a plugin for the most part. So I have my map tuned to my map offsets. So you might have noticed that there was empty terrain that was being displayed when I zoomed out in full cam mode. Your map might not need this, and most likely uh, you will need to change this for your own. And you can just override this with a simple override. I might move these out into the constants just to make it even easier. So just unpack the mod and see where I've landed on that. We do the offset calculation in the on init. So if you don't have an offset, you don't have to worry about it. Protected, don't. So that edge factor is what drives the majority of this. It's a normalized weight between 0 and 1, representing how far a player is from your edges. And so in this case, your edges are defined here. So this would be 0 and this would be 1. Whoops. Get safe heading. The kind of in the middle of it. Get safe heading will return to the player base, basically where we should be pointing the player's heading, or where they should be looking. Boilerplate code for in case there should teleport, which is basically should we teleport the player. A nice bool clamp to say, are we close to the edge? And then check player is what is actually called in Daisy player implement. This is what does the work. Basically, if you're past the threshold, teleport. If not, you will want to tell the player what's going on. And inside of our player base, we basically are overriding the heading model and hooking into the vanilla ways of orienting the player, which basically, if you're near the map edge and our intensity is greater than a threshold, this keeps our code from running 90% of the time, 99% of the time. But if we are running, then we want to orient our player, and then we want to update the restriction, and then we want to restrict the heading. And then otherwise, if we're not, we want to clear our restrictions, essentially. And so this keeps our code, our surface area minimal, and the amount of extra stuff that we're adding. And the player sort of keeps track of the particles and the requesters that happen. And that's it. So if you have any questions, feel free to add into the comments and I'll address them. But it should be able to handle what you need. Thank you for watching.